Hey guys, what's up? Scottish Duck here once again. Right. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Okay, basically I'm wanting to get like, I don't like the content on this channel, you know, my ScottishDuckTales account to be as sporadic as it is, you know. I look at the upload dates for all my videos and I see that I'm uploading one every 2 weeks or sometimes once a month, and I'm just thinking, nah, I can't keep doing that. I've got to try and enrich this with more content. Okay, maybe enrich isn't the right word considering the quality of these videos, but in any case, I want to start making more stuff for this. So I'm going to try and do 2 videos a week of just random gaming related stuff, whether it's talking about some story or whatever, or just typical thoughts on whatever. So yeah, what I'm going to do now, I think, is I've always kind of wanted to do this, right, a sort of open tag video. Right, so if any of you, I'm going to talk about my top 5 favourite gaming genres, you know. If any of you want to make a video response or just comment, tell me yours, you know, go right ahead. But I think I'm going to go through mine now. A lot of you can probably predict what these are going to be, but here we go. In no particular order, here's my top 5 gaming genres, okay? The first one, which a lot of you will probably know, is platformer, you know. Just games where you jump, you collect shit, and you just have this huge little, you know, cool little levels or a huge little world to explore. To be fair, it's more 3D platformer than 2D platformer with me. Not that I'm mocking 2D platformers or nothing, I love playing those as well. But I just love the expansiveness and the freedom of 3D platformers. Granted, some are kind of like from point A to point B, and if there's no sense of exploration, you know, it's not a 3D platformer to me. That's the key word with me, you know. In Ratchet and Clank, you can collect gold bolts or find little secret areas that contain special items. In the 3D Mario games, all you're doing is collecting. And even in 3D Sonic games, you know, you can look for alternate routes or whatever. For different ways to get from point A to point B, so they've all got like little levels of like exploration. That's what I love. 2D platformers can have that as well. 2D platformers are more, you know, like a test of skill rather than like bringing you into a world to explore and whatnot. But yeah, overall, my favorite. That's probably is my favorite gaming genre right there, platformer. And my favorite is probably to this day it's. Well, actually, I was going to say Ratchet and Clank, but unless you count the... Ratchet and Clank's my favourite. Ratchet and Clank 3, that is my favourite 3D platformer. My favourite 2D platformer would be the Mega Drive Sonic games, so depending on if you want to put 2D and 3D into 2 different categories, there you go, but whatever. That right there is my number 1. Number 2 is one that I've been on quite a high for a while now, as you could probably guess. Japanese RPGs. Now, here's the weird thing, right? I don't like Western RPGs, like, at all, you know? The only time I really like Western RPGs is when they're, like, mega streamlined, like Mass Effect 2 and 3 were. You know, Mass Effect 2 and 3, even though they were RPGs at heart, they were essentially just, like, dumbed down to be like Gears of War and stuff, you know? And I'm not mocking that. Mass Effect 2 is a fucking amazing game. I loved it to death, you know? But in other instances with Western RPGs, I just can't get into them. Like, to this day, I have not played Skyrim. Okay, a lot of people would probably, but no, I've not played Skyrim yet. Because I put like 90 hours into Oblivion back in 2006, but that was more of like I don't know, the young age of the generation. I was still kind of awed by it, and I actually only really stopped playing Western RPGs, well, I stopped playing Oblivion when I got all the achievements on the 360, because I was a bit of an achievement whore back then. And I think that's it, by the way. I like games to have a beginning and an end. And when I get to that end, I can proudly put that game back on the shelf and feel glad that I completed it, you know? Whereas most Western RPGs, they don't really end. Especially like, you know, Fallout and Oblivion and all that. They go on forever. And in a sense, so does Mass Effect, because you're supposed to replay those games over and over again to get like different scenarios, whether you're being good or evil and whatnot. And I don't know why, but all that choice that the games give you, it doesn't really appeal to me. I'd rather just like play a game from beginning to end and experience the storyline as it's meant to be told, you know, sort of more focused approach. Not to mention, I just prefer, I was meant to say I prefer the gameplay of Japanese RPGs, but that's kind of a diverse statement, since you got your turn-based ones, you got your real-time strategy ones, sometimes you have like, you know, and there's like real-time ones, real-time battle systems, that is. I don't really like real-time strategies either. I'm just throwing that out there, bleh. But yeah, some of my favourites, of course, being Skies of Arcadia. I recently got into the Tales games. Actually, I say recently, but that was like 8 months ago. It still feels so new to me though. What else? I've recently been playing the Ease games on Steam. Those are really good They're barely JRPGs, to be honest. They're just kind of hack and slash games, but they are mega. They are just mega addicting, and it's really turned me into a bit of a Falcom fanboy. My Trails in the Sky for the PSP, by the way, that was great. But yeah, Japanese RPGs, probably number 2. These aren't in any particular order, but Japanese RPG is probably number 2. And I'm looking forward to games like Tales of Xillia, Ni no Kuni, and also Legacysta, which is a game by Nipponichi. They're coming out. It's sort of a dungeon crawler for the PS3. That one looks interesting, so yeah. My game of the year so far is probably The Last Story. You know, it's over there for the Wii. You guys in America are getting it within like a week. Actually, a week today. Better all have it pre-ordered. It'd be brilliant. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, Japanese RPG. Okay, third on my list. Well, I keep saying third, but they're in no particular order. Next one I would have to say would be adventure game. Now, I kind of just discovered my love for this genre fairly recently, you know? Like, as many of you know, I didn't PC game for years. I've only done it for like a year, to be honest. But one thing that always really attracted me with PC gaming was the sort of point-and-click games, you know? Games where you just, again, sort of like JRPGs, you just, from beginning to end, you just experience a storyline, but of course there's lots of dialogue, some puzzle solving, and, you know, hundreds of items to get, and it's a really hell of an experience with that, you know? I really haven't played that much, you know, there's a lot more that I would love to play, but some ones that I really adore would be the Phoenix Wright games, you know? Yes, those are adventure games, they're kind of visual novel style, but they are adventure games, as far as I'm concerned anyway, as is Ghost Trick Professor Layton. The Longest Journey is probably my favourite adventure. Well, nah. It's my favourite point and click, but not really adventure. Hell, even Shenmue. Shenmue is just like a adventure game that happens to have a fighting system for it, and to be honest, fighting was always like my least favourite part of Shenmue. You know, I had more fun exploring the world and like viewing everything and talking to people. So yeah, my favourite game of all time is an adventure game, pretty much. I'm currently playing through 999, which is another visual novel, you know. I'm enjoying that a hell of a lot. What else? See, I haven't played that many of them. Like, I did Let's Play Scratches, which is a really scary adventure game. I was really proud of that Let's Play, by the way, and I highly recommend you check Scratches out. My eyes are watering because of the hay fever outside, but yeah, that was really awesome, that one. So yeah, that's pretty much adventure games in a nutshell. Again, you can range from like a point and click to a visual novel for me. Basically a game where you can play not necessarily your own pace, but you don't really need like proper gaming skill in order to muster. You kind of just sit there, you can just lie down on your bed or whatever, and just play it all relaxed, sort of, you know? Right. My next genre would have to be, which is sadly, actually all these genres are in a way dying genres, it's really sad. But this next one is survival horror. I actually, not so much in the past few years, but when I was younger, I was actually a mega huge into survival horror games. You know, when games would come out that were all scary, I'd usually like pick them up. I remember my first experience with survival horror was a friend of mine had his PS1 chipped, and a bunch of games that he got. You know, he had shitloads of games, but two of them were Resident Evil 2 and Silent Hill. And he'd play them, right, and I used to have the best time just watching him play them, you know, watching him play Silent Hill or whatever. But there was times where he'd give me the controller, and it's not the fact that the game itself scared me. I was just scared to play it. You know, I couldn't sit in front of the telly with it. You know, I was too feared I would die or anything, and it was just so nerve-wracking to me. And I kept saying, dude, go and you play it, and I'll just watch you. And he was like, no, maybe he felt the same as me, but yeah. We didn't play that much of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, actually, probably because of that. I remember, actually, I kept that mentality up until I got the Dreamcast, and I got a demo for Resident Evil Code Veronica. And I just sort of said to myself, sod it, I'm going to play this game, and I'm not going to be scared. And sure enough, I played it, loved it, bought the full game, and yeah, Resident Evil Code Veronica probably is my favourite survival horror of all time. You know, it's got a big place in my heart, and again, it was the first that I sort of stood up to, so to speak. But yeah, other survival horror games that I love is, of course, Project Zero, or Fatal Frame. Already mentioned Silent Hill. There's lots of other little ones, like, you know, just Dino Crisis, and I guess Dead Space, you know, even though it's becoming less and less survival horror. So is Resident Evil, really. But yeah, the survival horror genre is pretty much dead, sadly. I mean, take like Alan Wake that just came out, right? That's not a survival horror game. It's got really good atmosphere, and but it's just not scary in the slightest. Now, a survival horror game doesn't necessarily have to be scary to be a survival horror game, because the other key word in there is survival. And I'm sure many of you can figure that out. You know, it's got to be a game where you've got to, I don't know, conserve your ammunition or conserve your health items. You've got to walk around every corner thinking that you could die at any minute, and you've got to manage your stuff sparingly. And that wasn't in Alan Wake at all. You know, it was just a checkpoint-based sort of action game. I did like Alan Wake, but it's just not a survival horror game. I can't really think of many survival horror games coming down the line. Apparently, Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil, is working on a game with Bethesda. I don't think anything's been revealed about it yet, but if that's the case and it's going to be a proper survival horror game, then I'm all for it. Yeah. Okay, so that's 4. And to be honest, I wish this could be a top 4 favourite genres, because those are the genres that truly, like, hold a place in my heart, you know? Every other genre I either dislike or I'm just kind of alright with. So I thought about it for a while, and here's what I realised. My 5th favourite genre would have to be, like, not necessarily first-person shooter, but just sort of like shoot-em-ups in general, you know? Now, some things I gotta say right now, I never play online with anything, so it's not really like that type of shooter that I'm into. I'm into just, well, I just really appreciate, I should say, having a gun, going about the game, and the challenge of shooting down everybody, well, maybe like ducking, taking cover and whatnot, and, you know, just accomplishing that sort of feat. I recently played through Bulletstorm, which is from the makers of Painkiller, and those are some of the best FPSs I've ever played, you know. I really loved Half-Life, you know, that's a first-person shooter. I recently played for Max Payne. I really loved the challenge that Killzone gives you. You know how the controls are a lot slower in that game. I really appreciate that, because, you know, you can't really, you know, you've got to be careful where you aim your gun and all that, and you've got to aim it carefully. You know, it's not it's very unique from other first-person shooters where the controls are really fast. So yeah, that's definitely the bottom of that list, really. But first-person shooters, I like them, you know. I don't like how they're oversaturating the market and all that, but I do like them, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So, what are your favorite game genres? You can, if you want to tell me or make a video response, you can, or I don't know, whatever you want. So yeah, that's all I got to say, guys. See you after. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.